Useless burdens. I can't handle them.
These were the words thrown at me by my husband Mark when I was hospitalized after a traffic accident. He probably doesn't realize what he's saying. Before the accident, Mark had kidney issues. I became a donor and gave him one of my kidneys, but as he recovered, his attitude and behavior grew more arrogant. I later found out he was pretending to be busy with work to hide his affair. I'm filled with distrust for Mark. I plan to strip him and his mistress of everything and make them realize their mistakes. I'm Sandy, a 38-year-old housewife. I once worked part-time, but now I focus on making handmade crafts, hoping to earn a little money from my hobby. Mark, my husband, works in sales at a company that manufactures and sells office equipment. He's good at talking and seems to do well at his job, but it also appears to bring him a lot of stress.
The drink after work is special.
You should stop at that. It's bad for your health.
You, always at home, wouldn't understand the hardship or the taste of beer.
He can't quit smoking and drinking, always getting warnings at health checkups. He avoids follow-up exams not to get scolded by doctors. Maybe it's time for your follow-up exam.
I have client entertainment that day. No time for hospitals.
He never listens, irritated by my frequent reminders.
If I don't work, we can't live, right?
But you should still go for the checkup. Maybe reschedule?
I feel sick. Going to sleep now.
Mark has a bad habit of avoiding things he dislikes or finds troublesome. This habit made me anxious, and sadly, my fears were confirmed. Lately, Mark's behavior at home has been odd, especially during meals, making me uneasy too. Mark, you seem restless.
It's nothing. There's a big project coming up. I'm going to sleep early tonight.
I felt something off when he said he was going to sleep, but headed to his study with his work bag. His actions didn't match his words. The bag, wasn't it supposed to be in the closet? Why take it to the study if you're sleeping early?
Stop nagging,
he yelled suddenly, dropping his bag and a paper fell out. It was a document from a major hospital's nephrology department.
What's this document? It's nothing serious.
How can it be nothing? It's asking you to visit the nephrology clinic, and it's dated for tomorrow. The document explicitly instructed to visit the nephrology clinic.
I thought I'd go during lunch break tomorrow.
It says here to bring family. Why didn't you tell me?
I was just trying to be considerate.
His eagerness to change the subject gave me a bad feeling. I'm free tomorrow, and I'm worried since the hospital contacted us. I sounded a bit harsh out of concern for Mark. Usually he'd make excuses or get angry, but he seemed unusually meek.
Okay, then tomorrow.
His uncharacteristically cooperative attitude was concerning. The next day, we went to the university hospital at the designated time and were met with a solemn atmosphere. I had come expecting a simple explanation, but it was clear that wasn't the case. According to the doctor, Mark needed a kidney transplant due to a kidney function disorder.
No way. This must be a joke, right?
Why would a doctor lie? This is the result of not taking care of your health. I knew kidneys could be transplanted since we have two, but I never imagined Mark would need one. Shocked by the doctor's words, Mark pleaded with a desperate look.
My kidneys won't last much longer. Please, can you donate yours to me? I don't want to die yet.
Wait a minute. But if we do the transplant, you'll get better, right?
It seems so. It's going to be a burden on you, but...
The doctor said if the donor is healthy, there should be no problem. And spouse-to-spouse transplants are quite common. If I refused, Mark's condition would surely worsen. Though he sometimes annoys me, I always want him to live a long life. Maybe this transplant would make him focus on his health, which he's neglected so far. I want to donate my kidney because I want you to be healthy and live longer. But I have a condition. After the surgery, you must take good care of your health, please.
Of course, I want to live longer. I'll be more careful from now on.
I decided to become a donor, thinking of Mark's recovery and future life. Fortunately, the risk of rejection was very low, so we quickly proceeded with the transplant surgery. I don't regret becoming a donor, hoping he gets better soon.
Thank you so much. I don't know what to say.
Let's take care of each other from now on, and don't overdo it, okay? I hoped we could grow old together, even if we argue sometimes. However, this hope turned out to be one-sided, a realization that came years later. Right after the surgery, Mark seemed grateful for receiving my kidney. He showed concern at home and outside.
Hey, Sandy, are you okay? Not overdoing it.
I'm fine, but I'd like to rest a bit and drink some water.
Yeah, you need to drink water regularly. Let's rest here for a bit.
There were times when he cared about my health, and we even watched health-related shows together and discussed practicing what we learned. However, as time passed after the surgery, Mark seemed to take his good health for granted. He started to neglect his health, acting as he pleased and dismissing my concerns. Have you been taking your medication regularly? It doesn't seem like it's decreasing much.
I forget sometimes. I'll take it later.
Take it now to avoid forgetting. Here's your lunch.
I know. I'm off then.
I prepared nutritious homemade lunches, hoping he'd live a long life. I carefully balanced vegetables and meat, trying to make them tasty. But Mark often complained.
What's with these recent lunches? Can't you do something about it?
What do you mean? Is the portion too small?
Too many vegetables. It's demotivating. I'm in sales, always on the go. I need something more energizing.
He reluctantly took the leftover lunch.
I ended up buying a burger because it wasn't satisfying. Can you improve it?
Sorry it wasn't to your taste.
It's not about apologizing. Can't you add more meat or something? Any entry-level employee can apologize.
I almost retorted, but held back, understanding he might be stressed from work.
Nagging is annoying. It's off-putting and makes me lose my appetite. Think a bit, will you?
Even so, why is he coming home late every night? But working late every night, that must be tough, right?
What, do you think I'm lying?
Not doubting. Just seems hard for you. Today, again, Mark told me he'd be late coming home in the evening. When he says that, he usually gets back around midnight, so I end up spending the evening alone. I was finishing a handmade craft in the evening, but I accidentally broke a necessary part just before completion. It was an order from a customer who wanted to use it in 4 days. I wanted to ship it tomorrow, but now I'm in a pinch. Normally, I would go to the craft store the next day while running errands, but because it was urgent, I decided to go in the evening. Fortunately, Mark would be home late, and I had leftovers, so it was fine. If I hurried to the craft store and finished shopping quickly, it would be okay. But as I left the store, it was getting dark and traffic increasing. While I was walking, a car sped towards the sidewalk. Frozen in fear, I couldn't move. Before I knew it, I was hit and thrown a distance away. The accident was bad, and I ended up needing a wheelchair for a while. I had just been hospitalized for donating a kidney to Mark, and now I was back in the same hospital because of an accident. I was told by the doctor that I would need a wheelchair for some time and needed to complete hospital admission procedures. After 10 p.m., Mark finally answered my 5th or 6th call, sounding annoyed. Mark, were you working? I had an accident this evening, and it looks like I'll be hospitalized for a while. I'll need a wheelchair and some things brought to the hospital. A heavy sigh came from the other end of the phone.
Why do you have to get injured at such a critical time? What about the house?
Sorry, but I can't cook for a while. Maybe you can buy something from the grocery store.
I guess, but it'll cost me if it's every day. Can you give me money for it?
There was no concern for the accident or my condition, just annoyance and worry about his meals and money. I couldn't believe it, but being alone, I had no choice but to rely on Mark. Sorry, it's lights out time soon. I'll email you what I need later. Can you bring it tomorrow, or is it too difficult? Then Mark replied in an obviously irritated voice.
Can't handle useless burdens.
What?
I'm busy. Ask your parents to bring it. Give me a break.
Right before hanging up, I thought I heard a woman's voice behind Mark. It was faint, so I wasn't sure, but it seemed like she was laughing at our conversation. Could he be with another woman? But he said he was working. Torn between wanting to trust Mark and feeling he might be hiding something, I couldn't sleep that night. At night, I can't stop thinking about things I don't want to. To make matters worse, Mark's inconsiderate words left me physically and mentally exhausted. Anger bubbled up at his remark about not being able to handle useless burdens. The woman's voice I heard on the phone also bothered me, and I wanted to find out more. As I pondered how to do this, a call came through. I never imagined that this call would be a turning point. It was from Isabel, a friend from high school. Isabel works part-time at a grocery store, and she called because something was bothering her. I was excited to hear from an old friend, but Isabel sounded hesitant. "Long time no see, Isabel. How are you? What are you up to?" "I'm still working at the grocery store. I've been taking the evening shifts for a year or two. They pay better. Recently, I've seen your husband coming to the store often." "Really? I'm in the hospital right now because of a traffic accident. If he's at the grocery store, he must be cooking for himself. I thought he was just working overtime, so that's a bit of a relief." Then Isabel's tone changed, as if she was hiding something. "I couldn't just ignore this since we've been friends for so long. Recently, he's been coming in with a young woman. She doesn't seem like a relative." "What do you mean?" "I'm in the hospital for an accident, and I heard he's always working late." "Yeah, but from the way they talk and look, I'm pretty sure it's your husband. Sorry if I'm saying something weird." It was the moment my bad feeling was confirmed. "Thank you, Isabel, for telling me all this. Your call helped me make a decision. Sorry to trouble you in such a tough time, Sandy, but if you need to talk, I'm here." Right after hanging up, I took action. I immediately searched for a detective agency with good reviews and hired them to investigate Mark. Luckily, I had some extra money from my handmade craft sales to cover the cost. The investigation revealed he was having an affair with a 23-year-old woman named Garnet, working at a temp agency, and active as an influencer on social media. Since she was public on social media, I used various platforms to find Garnet's account, which was surprisingly easy to locate. Garnet posted selfies and fan pursuits of a teen idol, showcasing her lifestyle. Among her posts, some raised my suspicion, hinting at some business scheme with words like join dividends and expanding the network. I wondered what Mark saw in such a woman. Curiosity led me to want to meet Garnet. After a successful recovery and leaving the wheelchair behind, I returned home to find no sign of Mark, just a note saying, "Please divorce me," with a filled-out divorce form. Mark had run off with his 23-year-old lover while I was hospitalized. Now, I needed to dig deeper into Garnet's background. I followed her on social media and looked for an opportunity to get closer. She was a fan of a well-known teen idol group and actively engaged in the fandom. Knowing this, I devised a plan. I felt hopeful that if things went well, I might be able to get along with them and ask them questions. "Hi, Garnet. I also like the same teen idol and followed you. Hope we can be friends." "Thanks for the comment. You live in the same area, right? It feels like fate." From there, we got closer through conversations about the teen idol, and I managed to arrange a meeting. Despite my anxiety, things went surprisingly well. Our endless talks about our favorite aspects of the teen idol were a true sign of fandom. But my goal wasn't just to find fandom friends, it was to confront Mark's mistress. It was nerve-wracking to gradually get closer without raising suspicion, but it was all for D-Day. "Did you see them on TV recently? They were amazing, right?" "I had to see them live, so I went to the shooting location. But being a fandom member is expensive." Garnet suddenly brought up money, perhaps referring to her business posts on social media. "That's why, Sandy, since we've become friends, I wanted to share a way to make money." She enthusiastically began talking about her business venture. Seemingly not a prohibited method, but but I hesitated to speak out. Sorry, I need to use the restroom. Be right back. Checking during the restroom break, it appeared to be a definite prohibited activity. It's illegal to solicit, but as a solicited party, I could potentially take legal action. Pretending to be interested, I encouraged her to continue. Fandom activities are costly. I'm curious about your money-making method. Garnet eagerly shared detailing the illegal business scheme. It's simple. Just like how I do it. Keep expanding your network. Proudly, Garnet explained, but I couldn't let the conversation end there. But isn't it hard to increase your network? How do you do it? I meet guys through dating apps, go on dates, you know. Men are pretty simple. They give gifts easily and join the network, which is nice. Then Garnet showed me a photo. It was a picture of her and Mark, arm in arm smiling, with Garnet wearing a large diamond ring. He seems to really love me. He buys me things, and I guess we're kind of together because he supports my lifestyle. Really? Is the diamond in the photo from him? Yes, it's worth about $500,000. He said it was a pledge of eternal love, but I don't wear it usually. It's not really my style. No doubt, that was the diamond ring Mark gifted Garnet. It seemed Mark was being exploited by Garnet. Either way, cheating is cheating, and neither Mark nor Garnet can be forgiven. Hey Garnet, I have someone I want you to meet. A friend of mine, is that okay? Of course, if they're a friend of yours, I'd love to meet them. Who are they? You'll see when we meet. I decided to have Garnet meet Mark in person. I called Mark, saying I needed to talk about the divorce papers. We arranged to meet at a cafe the following Sunday. Mark arrived early, and as we waited, Garnet walked into the cafe. Garnet, over here. Sandy, is that guy next to you? He's my husband. We're married. Mark suddenly stood up. Hey, the divorce papers. Did you say something? Seeing us sitting together, Garnet looked surprised for a moment, then forced a smile and started talking. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. They both looked awkward. It made sense, considering they were having an affair and now faced each other. Garnet kept glancing at me, looking uneasy. I decided to bring up the topic. So, Garnet, you're into some special business targeting men, right? Garnet looked uncomfortable and looked down. I still won't let up. And about that diamond ring you mentioned earlier, the one you don't like but got from someone who buys you things and supports your lifestyle? Both of them looked increasingly troubled. So, you said you'd stay together forever? But I'm just a financial supporter? Was the talk about marriage also a lie? Wait, weren't you divorced? Were you lying? And I was just with you because of the money. Don't get it wrong. It's a nuisance. They both looked flustered, turning red and pale. Who's lying? Mark, you cheated and betrayed me while I was caring for you, right? I didn't know Garnet was like this. I was just stressed from work and wanted some comfort. Sandy, I truly love only you. But if you truly love me, why would you cheat and betray me? Mark looked uncomfortable. Me, donating a kidney, doing household chores, all for nothing. Such a betrayal. It was just a moment of weakness. Garnet burst out in anger, her face turning red. You said you loved me, and that's why you supported my lifestyle. And now you call it a moment of weakness? Mark turned to me and started apologizing. I thought maybe you can forgive me. The divorce paper was just a lapse in judgment. Can we start over? But my decision was already made. When I had my accident, I knew you were with your mistress, saying you couldn't handle a useless burden. Do as you please now. No way. How can you plan to live without my earnings, being just a housewife? Ignoring Mark's continued anger, I left the cafe and headed home. Of course, I had no intention of returning to the house I shared with Mark. I had already sent my essential belongings to my new place. I also hired a lawyer, experienced in infidelity and divorce cases, so I felt secure knowing that the divorce papers and demands for alimony would be sent. Living a lifetime with a man who doesn't understand others' pain was impossible. I could hear Mark and Garnet arguing in the cafe as I left. probably over the parting gift I left, a copy of the investigation report from the detective agency. I could imagine them reading it together, realizing they had been deceived by each other, shouting in a way that was embarrassingly audible outside. After officially divorcing Mark, I started working for a local grocery store. The experience of being hospitalized and receiving care inspired me to help others, leading me to aim for a caregiver certification. One day, I saw Mark again. I almost spoke out loud, but realized I had nothing left to say to him. We were now just strangers, as I had heard that the divorce was officially recognized.
Hey, Sandy, you okay? Ever since you left, I don't know if I'm alive or dead. Help me out.
Deciding it was a waste of time to pay him any attention, I ignored him.
Say something. You must be struggling without me, right? Let's support each other and live together. What do you say? Can't you forgive just a momentary lapse? Why can't you do that?
I could see his deteriorated lifestyle, an uncared-for suit, unpolished shoes, unwashed hair, and a frayed shirt. He was following me in such a state. Clearly not the look of a businessman. I resolved to ignore him, not wanting to be associated with an acquaintance. He followed me back to the store, but luckily a security guard noticed and chased him away. Apparently some of his colleagues from work saw this. After our separation, Mark's work attitude had worsened, and this bizarre behavior made it clear that his affair and our divorce were the reasons. I later heard from an acquaintance that Mark's workplace found out about his affair. He lost his place there, especially after trying to spread Garnett's business scheme, leading to his isolation and eventually disciplinary action. This would likely impact his future employment, but it was no longer my concern. I'm working and studying to become a caregiver, finding happiness in being independent and pursuing my goals. With the exam just a month away, I'm confident about passing given my current progress. I've also made friends through my studies, which is wonderful. Taking a lesson from my experience with Mark, I'm determined to become a caregiver who understands people's pain and struggles, and I continue to study for my exam with that resolve.